2,700 billion tons of ice disappear every year. The Arctic is continuously melting. Can global warming really end? NASA observations confirm that Greenland loses 2,700 billion tons of ice every year, and Antarctica loses even 1,500 billion tons. That's equivalent to pouring the ice water of 70 million Olympic-sized swimming pools into the ocean annually. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's models have long warned, at the current emission rates, global warming will reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius critical point by 2040, a full 1.5 degrees higher than before industrialization. Last summer, 50 degrees Celsius heat in Europe scorched 2 million hectares of forests, and floods in Southeast Asia forced 3 million people to evacuate. Warming is not the future, but a reality is happening now. But a turning point is happening. The latest report from the International Energy Agency shows that from 2022 to 2027, global renewable energy will add 2,400 gigawatts of installed capacity, equivalent to the total electricity capacity of China, with a growth rate 85% higher than the previous 5 years. By the start of 2025, wind and solar energy will surpass coal for the first time to become the world's largest source of electricity, accounting for 38% by 27. More importantly, carbon capture technology is moving from the laboratory to the market. When the U.S. Stratos plant starts operation in 2025, it will capture 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the air every year. The European Union's Northern Lights project has sealed more than 30 million tons of greenhouse gases in the North Sea. But don't be too happy. Currently, the world emits 360 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year, while all carbon capture projects combined can only recover less than 50 million tons annually, not even a fraction of that. The harsh truth from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is, even if all countries fulfill their 2030 emission reduction commitments, warming will still exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius, and large-scale carbon removal technology will be needed to pull the temperature back afterwards. The more difficult issue is the speed gap in energy transition. Renewable energy is surging, but global coal consumption still hit a record high in 2023. It's like controlling a fire while adding firewood to the pile. How easy is it to end warming? Scientists have proposed two paths. The first, cut emissions in half now, achieve net zero by 2055, and keep the temperature stable below 1.5 degrees Celsius. What does this require? All automakers stop producing fuel-powered cars by 2035. All power plants phase out coal by 2040. And 1,000 million ton level carbon capture plants built worldwide, equivalent to building 20 of the largest current facilities every year. The second path is more risky. Allow the temperature to temporarily exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius and pulled it back by the end of the century. But this means the Arctic ice shelves may collapse permanently, and the sea level rise rate will double. And our current pace is treading on the edge of the second path. But hope lies in the details. The cost of solar energy has dropped by 85% compared to 2010, and now in more than 30 countries, the price of photovoltaic electricity is cheaper than coal. Tax credits in the United States have cut the cost of carbon capture from $600 per ton to $85. And China's green bonds inject 1.2 trillion yuan into low-carbon projects every year. The power of ordinary people cannot be ignored. A family switching to LED lights saves 500 kilograms of carbon emissions every year. And if 2 billion people worldwide reduce meat consumption, agricultural emissions could drop by 25%. These are not slogans. The International Energy Agency estimates that energy conservation on the demand side alone could contribute 40% of emissions reductions. Back to the opening question. When will global warming end? The answer from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is, there is no fixed date. Only if. If we cut emissions by 45% before 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050, the temperature will stabilize by the end of this century. and warming will truly end in the early 22nd century. If we continue to delay, the warming may last for hundreds of years. Today in 2025, Greenland's glaciers are still collapsing, but solar panels are also spreading in deserts. Carbon emissions are still hitting new highs, but carbon capture pipelines have been laid on the seabed. Ending warming is not the responsibility of a single group, but the choice of every power plant, every driver, and every ordinary person. The next decade will determine whether humanity can press the cooling button for the Earth.